For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is VSiN PrimeTime. Live from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Final hour of Primetime. Will Hill, Matt Youmans here, and we are at halftime in Oklahoma City. And, Will, it's 58-50, Thunder over the T-Wolves, Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. Live number at DraftKings, Thunder minus 9.5, total 220.5. We started this game with a total of 217, and the money line is now OKC minus 560. Will, you said in the first hour tonight when we previewed this game, you wanted nothing to do with the T-Wolves tonight. I feel like your opinion probably has not changed.
I want less to do with Minnesota than I did at the beginning of the game. I just think they played pretty well. I thought they made a lot of threes. I thought Oklahoma City shot the ball very poorly from three. That's the recipe for an upset, or at least a really close game. They were within a stone's throw of leading this game or being tied at half, and you look up and they're down 8. It just feels like, again, we've seen these series change when they change venues. You got to win 4. The old cliche, a series doesn't start until the home team loses the game. All of that stuff applies, but it feels like Minnesota's really, really up against it, against a very good, strong Oklahoma City team. And it's possible, again, getting ahead of myself a little bit, but it's possible we look back in a month and you look back at this NBA season and we think, you know what, OKC passed the Denver test. They got by Jokic, and that was their last hurdle. Very rarely does a team face its toughest opponent in the second round of the playoffs. Usually it's the conference finals or the finals, and can't discount whoever comes out of the East. And this series isn't over. All of those precursors apply, but it does feel like OKC is a cut above the other 3 remaining teams here.
And think about it. This T-Wolves team knocked out the Lakers in 5 games. I keep thinking about that poll on ESPN.com where ESPN had 10 experts predict the series, and all 10 had the Lakers winning it. And the T-Wolves won that series. They're the 6th seed in the West. This path for the Thunder, they took out the Grizzlies in the first round. Memphis, not much of a threat. Took out the Nuggets in 7 games. Nuggets basically had 3 players in that series, and the Joker was the only one who showed up early for Game 7. And now the T-Wolves, the number 6 seed in the West, in the finals, the last hurdle that the Thunder have to get over on the way to the NBA Finals. There's a reason DraftKings got OKC a minus 220 favorite right now to win the NBA championship. Definitely the favorites. Not that they're not flawed, Will. I do see flaws in the Thunder. And in fact, as SGA knocks down a jumper in the lane here to open the scoring for the second half to make it 60-50, this OKC team is 4 for 21 from 3 tonight, but still up 10. I think more than anything, what we're seeing is a poor performance from the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the T-Wolves also having a lot of trouble with the way this OKC team plays defense.
Yeah, OKC's just really good, and you think of really good defenses in the NBA, you think of the bad boy Pistons or maybe the Ben Wallace mid-2000s Pistons. You think of physical, tough, knock you on your rear end. This is a great defense, but they do it in a different way. They just do it with speed, with quickness. They close up passing lanes. They turn defense into offense. It's almost like Floyd Mayweather was a great boxer because you just couldn't get a glove on him. This, in the quickness, the defense, that's what OKC is. They're like Floyd Mayweather. They're so damn quick. They're deep. Caruso, I thought, was a very underrated move to get him for Giddey. And they don't play a lot of bad defensive players. They don't play any bad defensive players. SGA's pretty good. Holmgren's got length. I mean, he's not obviously the most physical player, but there's just not a lot of places to attack. Usually you can find one or two weak links, 1 or 2 weak spots where you can attack defensively. There's not that for OKC. Again, I don't want to crown them prematurely. We've all been made to look bad at certain times. You think, oh, Boston's going to beat the Knicks, or upsets happen. I get that, and it's only going to be 2-0 if OKC wins the series. But OKC's a really good team, and going forward, it's scary for the rest of the league because they're still really young. They still got a bunch of future draft picks at their disposal. So OKC up 11 now. you feel like if they can get this to like 15 plus, it's going to be hard for Minnesota to come back. We've seen crazy comebacks in these playoffs, but things looking good right now for the Thunder.
Yeah, this Thunder team is not bulletproof, not unbeatable. They have not faced the most difficult path here to get to the Western Conference Finals. I would like to see a team from the East really challenge them, whether it's Pacers or the Knicks. I don't think it's going to be a walkover in the finals for the Thunder, but it's they have not had to have much of a stress test here in the West. And again, I was not that impressed, Will, that OKC needed 7 games to knock out the Nuggets. Because when you watch this Denver team, yeah, the Joker, I still say, is the best player in the world. But the Nuggets played basically the entire series with 3 players. And they limped into Game 7 with Aaron Gordon with a hamstring injury. And the Joker was really the only one who showed up for Game 7. So the Thunder win that. They advance, and now they get a T-Wolves team that's been pretty lackluster here in the first round. I would say in the first 2 games, if Minnesota is going to come back and win this game tonight, Anthony Edwards is going to have to play at a superstar level here in the second half. That has not happened so far. Edwards is 7 for 18. He's got 16 points, and he has been outscored by SGA 21-16. Edwards is going to have to put this team on his back and take over if the T-Wolves are going to win Game 2 tonight. And it's not looking great so far. You were talking, Will, about the old adage, I guess you want to call it. A series does not start until a road team wins a game. Well, the series has started in the Eastern Conference with the Pacers winning 138-135 in overtime on Wednesday night in one of the best NBA playoff games you're ever going to see. Do you think the Knicks bounce back in Game 2? We've talked about this game a few times tonight. How much conviction do you have in saying the Knicks are going to bounce back to win Game 2 with New York a 5.5 to 6 point favorite?
How many people woke up this morning, saw the final score, they went to bed early and said, what happened? Who won? The Pacers won? Just an incredible game. I do think the Knicks bounce back. I'm not crazy about the idea of laying 5.5 with 2 pretty equal teams, especially a Knicks team coming off a devastating loss. But I do think they'll bounce back. I think they're a resilient team. Thibodeau's a tough, resilient coach. They'll probably get a friendly home whistle. I thought they got a pretty good whistle most of the night. I'm sure Brunson will live at the free throw line. So if I had to take it or lay it, I would begrudgingly lay it. I think the Knicks win, but we talked about this at the Open. The Yankees in the World Series gave up a walk-off grand slam to Freddie Freeman, and they never recovered. They never got off the mat. I'd be a little worried if I'm the Knicks that this is the same scenario, that they're broken emotionally, they're broken spiritually. They've had a day off to recover, so I don't think that's the case. I do think the Knicks bounce back. I'm not sure what you think here, if you take it or lay it, but I would tentatively look to lay it. I'm not personally betting it because, like you, I have Knicks in 7 plus 400, so I pretty much have an implied bet on the Knicks to just win this game. I don't need to get involved with laying the 5.5. So I think the Knicks win, but I do think if you like the Pacers, probably put a little bit of your bet on the money line, just with the idea that the Knicks come out flat and they're just completely demoralized, deflated after Game 1. I think there's a scenario where the Pacers just win the game outright, obviously. But I do like the Knicks more than I like the Pacers here in Game 2.
Knicks 5.5 to 6 point favorites, so that's the adjustment from 4 to 4.5 in Game 1. Home team loses. Game 2, point spread gets inflated about 2 points. 5.5 to 6 here in Game 1, and also the first quarter and first half number is going to be inflated. I'd be a little bit careful. I think there could be a hangover effect for the Knicks in the first quarter, first half on Friday night. Like you, I've got too much invested here. A series over 5.5 games at minus 170. Knicks to win in 7 at 4-1 odds, and Knicks to win the series minus 150. I need the Knicks to win tomorrow night. I'm not going to bet the Knicks on Friday. I just need the Knicks to win the game to extend this series. It wouldn't surprise me that the Knicks win Friday night, then go to Indiana for Game 3 and get their butts kicked in Indianapolis. And that one, I might look to play the Pacers in Game 3. But you and I both need the Knicks to win Friday night, extend this series, and can we get it to 7 games? That's what we've got to get. Just give us a chance if you can get to 7 games. And Knicks lost Game 7 at home to the Pacers a year ago. If they can get it to Game 7, I would like my chances. But that's a big if right now when you drop the first game of the series at home and blow a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter. 63-57. Thunder over the T-Wolves. Live line 7.5, total 214.5. Thunder minus 375. T-Wolves on a 7-0 run here in the last 2.5 minutes. Before the line moves, the Sharp Plays at sharpplays.com is already there. Don't chase the market. Move it. You're not going to outmuscle billion-dollar sportsbooks or full-time pro bettors on your own, but with the Sharp Plays, you don't have to. Powered by cutting-edge AI and trusted insider sources, the Sharp Plays delivers the edge that serious bettors rely on. Respected, watched, feared. That's the Sharp Plays. Check them out now at sharpplays.com. I don't know what the sharp play is on this game right now. Well, it's a 4-point game for the Thunder, 63-59. Live line at DraftKings is 6.5, total 214.5. It looks like the sharper pregame play probably would have been the under, right? Is that what you're thinking here?
Yeah, I don't know. What do we have for a live updated total? I know it closed 217. We're pulling up the live number here.
Actually, the live total is now 216.5. And
yeah, so we're right on the number.
We're right on both numbers, actually.
Yeah, right on both numbers.
7.5 and 215.5 now for the total. So basically back to where we were pregame as the Thunder hit a 3 as we're talking and is now 68-59. So OKC up to a 9.5-point favorite. And they stopped that run, that 7-0 run that the T-Wolves went on right there. All right, we've heard all the football contest information from Derek Stevens here at Circa tonight. On deck, the Canadian Kid. We're going to talk hockey and more with Ian Cameron as he joins the show next. Right now, an update. Hopefully he did not try to fade the Florida Panthers tonight. Panthers 4, Hurricanes 0. And early in the third period in that game in Carolina, but Florida about to go up 2-0. Stay tuned. We'll talk more hockey, more NBA. Ian Cameron joins the show here in a couple minutes on the Sports Betting Network.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is VSiN PrimeTime on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, welcome back to the big show. Final hour of VSiN PrimeTime. Hill, Matt Youmans. So let's go right out to the Progressive guest line and dial up the Canadian Kid, Ian Cameron. And Ian, we were talking about this during the break, so let's continue the discussion. The Canadian Football League kicks off 2 weeks from tonight, right? Did TSN in Canada have a CFL scheduled release show? Was there a bunch of build-up for the first game of the CFL season?
There was not a CFL release show, but I'll tell you what, if there was, this guy would have been tuned into it for sure. They would have at least gotten this man's television tuned into that. But I'm excited. You guys know, and Matt, you especially, that I've been obviously following the CFL my whole life because I've been a Ticat season ticket holder and fan for about 30 years. And certainly handicapping, betting the CFL for 2 decades now. And it's always been one of my strongest sports. It's a sport that obviously we've got great coverage of, great insight and, and contacts as well throughout the league to really keep abreast of everything going on. So it's a great sport, and I'm a big football fan, like I'm sure many of us that are tuned in are. So it's great to have football in June to get us ready, too, for NFL and college. But CFL is a great league. To me, that hands down, you can say UFL, you can say some of these European football leagues that are going on right now. There is no question in my mind that the clear number 2 pro football league in the world behind the NFL is the CFL, and you'll find out why in 2 weeks.
Well, I know Will Hill grew up as a big Winnipeg Blue Bombers fan, right, Will?
That's actually true, and I love the CFL too. It's so much fun to watch. The games are on Friday nights, Saturday nights. If you're tired of watching baseball, it's a good alternative. And if you're ahead of the line, the NFL, you're not going to get a big line movement, maybe a half point here or there. You're going to see some 2-3 point line movements. You can set up middle. So it's very great. It's very profitable from that standpoint, Ian, too, as I'm sure you've seen, the line movements over the years and being able to set up middles, things like that. But just going into the season, anyone you have an eye on in terms of futures, team you think is underrated going into the year?
Well, obviously quarterback play, and this goes with anything, right? NFL, college football, CFL, it's important. And I think a young quarterback that's going to be a starting quarterback in this league full-time for the first time, and he'll be starting for the Montreal Alouettes this season, Davis Alexander. He is a guy that's been backing up Cody Fajardo in Montreal the last couple of years. But when Fajardo got injured last year, Davis Alexander immediately came in and led, and he didn't lose a game as a starting quarterback coming in for an injured Cody Fajardo. And he's got a good arm, a great athletic skill set to run with the football when the pocket collapses. I think he's got a lot of skills that are going to translate well to success, is now the guy, the QB1 with the Montreal Alouettes this season. So they are definitely a team I think is on the offensive side of the football. I truly believe that they're in very good hands with Davis Alexander. And one thing I want to point out to the audience, too, about the CFL, because we know how many horrific roughing the passer calls we see in the NFL in particular. You can challenge that in the CFL. That's what I love about the CFL. If there's a bad roughing the passer call made by the refs, and we've seen a bunch of them in the NFL, and they can do nothing about it, in the CFL, you can challenge that call. In the CFL, you can still challenge pass interference as well. And I think that's just a cool difference in the rules that I love about the Canadian Football League.
Getting fired up for the CFL the more you talk about it. Ian, about 15 years ago, I was in Montreal on a UNLV basketball exhibition trip when I covered the Rebels. And I walked out back between games to Molson Stadium and watched the Montreal Alouettes practice. Would you believe that?
Yeah, and they still play there, Matt.
Yeah.
Percival Molson Stadium there on the campus of McGill University, right there, and it's just a great place. I mean, they get a lot of young people going to the games now there. It was just way too much of a, at the Olympic Stadium, it was just too big to have the Alouettes play there. Once they moved to Molson Stadium full time, it's the right move, and now they have a pretty nice home atmosphere now because they play there.
Ian Cameron, the Canadian Kid. Again, you can follow him at Bobano Bets and listen to his NHL podcast, The Ice Guys. And let's go ahead and update where we are on the ice right now. 4-0, Florida over Carolina. I was checking Ian Cameron to see what you played in this game today. Obviously, you got the Florida team total over 2.5. Were you on the Hurricanes tonight to even this series, and how much of a surprise is it to you that the Florida Panthers have dominated the first two games?
Yeah, this was one of these deals, Matt, where I was kind of in between, so I tried to get cute. I took Carolina to score in the first period, thinking that if they're going to have a great game tonight and tie this series, they've got to have a great opening 20 minutes, and they've got to get a lead. They never did, and I felt like after what I saw in Game 1, I wasn't totally convinced Carolina was going to win the game. And then you combine that with Florida. Now of 8 of their 9 road playoff games, the Florida Panthers have scored at least 3 goals. And nobody has scored more goals on the road in the Stanley Cup playoffs than Florida. Florida had 38 goals on the road in the playoffs coming into tonight. And now obviously they have 42, which is just incredible in 9 road playoff games. So that's why I was on the Panthers team total. I thought Carolina would get on the board in the first period, so we kind of split those two. Those were the 2 primary bets, Matt, that I had in this game. But Carolina's in trouble. It seems like these two teams play a similar style, but Florida's just stronger, bigger, deeper. They're getting way more from their third and their fourth line, Florida, than Carolina. Their bottom 6 forwards. And at the end of the day, their defense has suffocated Carolina. Carolina's got 8 shots on goal, and we're in the third period in a game they've got to have. It just speaks volumes about how well they're defending as a team, this Panthers group as well. Looking to get to their 3rd straight Stanley Cup final.
Ian, I forget who the handicapper I was listening to the other day. I think it was on a numbers game with Gil Alexander, was making the point that if certain teams win the Cup, it's pretty straightforward, or we can narrow down who the Conn Smythe winner is going to be, except for Florida. If Florida were to win the Cup, it could be Verhaeghe. It could be a number of different guys. Do you buy that? Do you have anybody in mind if Florida will win the Cup, or just a sleeper in general, a long shot that's live here to win the Conn Smythe?
You know what, Will? It's a great question because there's been so many key contributors, not just contributors, key contributors, players that have really made a big difference toward getting Florida again to this point where they're likely going to be 2 wins away from another Stanley Cup final appearance. Verhaeghe is definitely someone to keep an eye on for sure. He's been very solid. I would say even at this point, I'll throw it at Bobrovsky's going to be in the discussion. There's no doubt. But let's not forget maybe a couple of their defensemen have been good. Like an Ekblad could be in the conversation. And I wouldn't even rule out a guy that has played so well. Sam Bennett has 2 goals tonight. He might get consideration. But Eetu Luostarinen, and I've got a nickname for this guy. I call him Cool Mint because his last name sounds like Listerine. So I call him Cool Mint Luostarinen, this guy. He has played so good. Eetu Luostarinen for Florida. He has exploded offensively here in the playoffs. And I think Luostarinen and Bennett up front in the forward group are 2 Florida Panthers that if you're looking to dabble in a Conn Smythe market, throwing a couple bucks on that to me is not the worst thing you could do.
And how about the Oilers here going forward, Ian? Do you think that what we saw in the previous game continues? Do you have any thoughts on that game, that series?
Yeah, tomorrow's game 2, Will, I like Edmonton in a bounce-back spot here because at 5-on-5 even strength, I thought they played pretty well in game 1. Like they're up 3-1. Dallas didn't generate much in the second period when the game was played at 5-on-5, but then they just lost their discipline and took penalty after penalty in the third period, and that's when Dallas struck for the 3 power play goals, and they turned that 3-1 deficit into a 4-3 lead. I think if Edmonton gets back to playing this series at even strength, they played a solid game. They've been good responding off losses going back to the Vegas series. The one thing about Dallas, and you can look back on this year's playoffs 2 years ago and 3 years ago, they don't often go up 2-0. It seems like they win that first game and then they lose game 2, or they lose game 1 and then they win game 2 and they come out of the first 2 games with a split. It's been a long time since the Dallas Stars have gone up 2-0 in a series. So I do like Edmonton in the bounce back tomorrow night to even up the series in game 2.
Well, if you want to bet the Oilers, you can get plus 108. It looks like might be the best price out there right now to tie that series in game 2 on Friday night. Ian, Cameron, I'll give you about 40 seconds to answer this. I know it's going to be tough. There's so much to talk about. Let's transition to the NBA here quickly. Do you think the Knicks can bounce back from that choke job in game 1? Do you like the Knicks in game 2, 5.5, 6-point favorites?
Matt, people will say that it was such a horrendous loss, I guess, that they'll be almost like in a state of shock tomorrow night still following that kind of loss. I don't think they will. I think they've got enough leadership and they've got enough of a hardened persona to put that behind them and this time play it out for 48 minutes and not have the lapses that we saw obviously down the stretch lead to that incredible comeback. And look, it was some tremendous 3-point shot making. That really went into the Indiana comeback as well. Neesmith just couldn't miss from the perimeter down the stretch. So it was not just New York collapsing. Indiana was just making one crazy shot after another. I do like the Knicks' chances to bounce back and tie the series at MSG tomorrow night.
Apple Bono Bets, Ian Cameron, the Canadian Kid. Always appreciate the time.
Good to be with you guys. Enjoy the rest of the night.
This is VSiN PrimeTime on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Will Hill, we talked about this earlier in the show. I said the one player prop I like tonight, Anthony Edwards over his points prop, 25.5, DraftKings 26. Right now he's got 20 points with 2 minutes to go in the third. How about this tweet from Mitch Moss? Here it is, quote, waited and waited and waited to get in on Ant over 24.5 or 25.5 points at even money. It finally shows. I try to bet. Spin, 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 and the bet is rejected. Come on, Boyd Gaming. Total BS. That's a bad beat, Will, when you're trying to get in live betting on a prop like this. It's going to go over. Anthony Edwards is going to get that. He's going to go over that point prop. He's got 20 right now, like I said, near the end of the second quarter. Mitch tried to get the bet in. is spinning. It's spinning. Bet gets denied, and he's unhappy. Did you see his tweet?
I did, and we've all been there, right?
Yeah.
And it's a situation where if you don't bet during the commercial, it can go one of two ways. You can get the bet in, and the book's ahead of you, and you might end up not wanting that bet, chances are, or the bet goes in your favor, but it doesn't go through. So you're at the mercy of the book and the lapse, that lag. When it comes to live betting, especially if you're not betting during commercials, it can be a very frustrating process trying to live bet this stuff. It's really probably a good exercise to only live bet during the commercials, because we've talked about this. The books, especially in the playoffs, seems like they're good 2, sometimes 3 possessions ahead of you. Yeah. And unless you really trust the book and the software, you could be betting the worst of it, or you could just get your bet rejected.
Edwards, 20 points, not nearly enough. You were talking about this right before we came back on the air. This game is really slipping away from Minnesota right now, 82-67. And the live number's up to 13.5. Do you feel like your instincts were on point, Will, as you watched this game kind of get away? You said you wanted nothing to do with the T-Wolves tonight.
Yeah, it just feels like OKC's a lot better. Their margin for error is so big. They played really poorly the first half of game 1. They're down 4 middle of the third quarter of game 1. No problem, win by 20+. The three-point battle, which is a lot of times all you need to know in these games, dominated by Minnesota in the first half. Didn't matter. OKC's still up 8. I'm curious your thoughts on a couple things. I was torn between OKC and 5, OKC and 6 before the series. I picked OKC and 6 just because it was a 5-1 payout. If you gave me true serum, I probably lean more towards 5, but I was torn between 5 and 6. I picked 6, so we'll just leave it at that. What do you think the line is for game 3, assuming this score holds up and OKC wins comfortably? And what do you how do you think this series plays out in Minnesota? Does Minnesota get a split? It's 3-1, then OK closes it out. Do you think Minnesota can get both? Can OKC sweep them? What are you leaning towards happening in Minnesota, and what are you looking at in terms of game 3 line?
All right, so that game is Saturday night in Minnesota. This is where you're going to see the biggest adjustment in the number, because we're talking about Thunder, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5 point favorites in the first 2 games at home. This is where I think in game 3, you're either going to see OKC -1 pick or Minnesota -1. What are you thinking?
I was thinking, so home court's worth a few points.
Well, in this situation, it's worth
the desperation.
More. Yeah, and the game 3 is when it's worth the most, because the team's down 2-0. If they go down 3-0, they could pack it in game 4.
Sure.
And get swept. So game 3 is where you're going to have the biggest adjustment for a team going home down 2-0. I could actually see Minnesota being a 1-point favorite, but I probably wouldn't make it more than 1. Well, so what's your number?
I'll say Minnesota by 2.
2?
Wouldn't even be surprised if it's like 2.5.
Okay.
But then maybe you have to make an adjustment. If OKC wins and covers easily game 1 and they win and cover easily game 2, you have to maybe recalibrate how you look at that series. Maybe that offsets some of the desperation factor. So it's going to be hard to give OKC too many points in this situation, or put too much of a plus price behind them as they bury another 3. And this one is really getting out of hand, 17-point lead. So I'll say Minnesota by 2.
All right, I could buy that, I guess. I said I wouldn't go above 1, but you talked me into it. I guess I could go Minnesota. This is going to be the desperation spot for the T-Wolves, right? You get their butts kicked in the first 2 games. You got to come back, play with some pride, get back in the series. So I guess I could see T-Wolves -2 in game 3. Saturday night, Minneapolis, you're going to have an electric crowd. That's your one chance to get back in the series. So I could go with that. Thunder right now up 88-69. The live number 17.5. The total 220.5. And Will, how about the money line? OKC -20,000 right now. Anthony Edwards at the free throw line. He misses. Edwards now with 20 points. Actually, 22 points. Sorry, Edwards has got 22, so he's getting close to that points prop. SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, has 28, and he's trying to get over, what do we say his points prop was tonight, 31? Is that
31.5 or 32, and I think 31.5.
He's got 28 with a full quarter to go. So it looks like both those stars are going to get over those numbers tonight. Any player props you're thinking about? Any player props you're thinking about in Game 2 between the Pacers and the Knicks? I said prior to the series, I said on a few shows, Will, that I thought Jalen Brunson was just going to go off in the series. He's going to be the alpha dog. Who's going to get the Knicks over the top. Well, he had 43 points in Game 1. He can't do much more than that. He did have 7 turnovers. Got to clean that up. But you get 43 from Brunson, 35 from Karl Anthony Towns, and you still lose in overtime. What do you expect from Brunson? What do you expect from Towns? Any player props on your radar as you look forward to Game 2 on Friday night?
I'd look towards both guys going over. I don't know that Indy has a great matchup defensively for Brunson. They were trying Ben Shepherd at times on him. That's not going to work.
Right.
I think Brunson's going to get his. I think the fact that they're down 1-0 at home, I think they're going to get to the free throw line. So I would look towards over on Brunson, over on Towns. That's how I would play it. Especially, it's a great pace. It's a great pace for overs, which means more points for everybody, more points for Brunson, more points for Towns. So I would only look towards overs on Brunson and Towns.
By the way, Scott Foster, the official who took the shot to the nose early in the game, bloodied his nose. He's bounced back tonight. Scott Foster doing a great job officiating the game, actually. Not too many questionable calls tonight. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just gets knocked to the floor, gets 2 free throws, and that makes it a 21-point game, 90-69 in favor of the Thunder. If you want to know where the money is really going, unlike other sources, our betting splits come straight from Circa and DraftKings Sportsbooks, giving you insight into where the sharp action is landing. It appears tonight the sharp money was on the home favorite, the OKC Thunder. See the percentage of bets versus the percentage of handle on every game across every major sport, helping you make smarter, more informed bets. Get VSiN's exclusive betting splits for as little as $9.99 for your first month at vsin.com/subscribe. All OKC right now. The route is on 93-69. Thunder up by 24 with a 10-0 run right there, and now 21.5-point favorites on the live number at DraftKings. I thought Dustin Sweetelson of VSiN had a good tweet today. Will, let's go ahead and throw Dustin's tweet up there. On the heels of the crushing loss for the Knicks on Wednesday night, Dustin tweets, still not over the Knicks. What was the worst your favorite team ever made you feel? Will, was it when the Yankees blew the 3-0 lead to the Red Sox in 2004, or would it be something else?
2001 to the Diamondbacks with a chance for, what was that, a 4-peat? That's a bad one.
Yep, that was bad.
95 against the Mariners was a bad one. I'm a Vikings fan, so I got plenty of moments there. Blair Walsh, the 98 Vikings, where Gary Anderson hasn't missed all year. Up 7, misses a kick. They lose in overtime.
That was sick.
The Brett Favre year. How long is this show? How long is this segment? If I had to pick one, the 98 Vikings was a tough one. That was such a great team. Such a great team. I still can't believe they lost that freaking game. Jeez.
All right, so I don't know if we talked about this before. If we have, I don't remember the answer. How does a guy from Connecticut become a big Minnesota Vikings fan?
I don't know. I was a kid. I liked football cards, and I think I liked the uniforms, and it stuck. So not one of my better decisions. A lot of bad decisions in my life. This is up there with any of them. They've caused me a lot of pain, a lot of heartache, and it's still going. If
you had at a young age identified with the Patriots, you would have 6 Super Bowl championships.
You're 100% right.
Instead, you got 0 with the Vikings. That's odd.
Yeah.
I never have understood why you were a Vikings fan. I kind of forgot that. So.
Builds character, I guess.
It does. All right. Losing will build some more character in the T-Wolves as they look forward to Game 3. They're getting pummeled right now, 93-71 as we head toward the fourth quarter. Thunder 20.5-point favorites. The live total staying pretty steady from where we started pregame at 217.5. There have not been really any big swings in that total tonight, but it's all Thunder. Thunder rolling by 22 as we head to the fourth quarter. Will and I will take a look at the Friday baseball card and try to find some best bets as we wrap up the show next year on VSiN PrimeTime.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, You know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is VSiN PrimeTime on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Isaiah Hartenstein throws down a dunk, and the Thunder up 95-76 on the T-Wolves 2 minutes into the fourth quarter. Looks like OKC is going to be up 2 games, 2 blowout wins, as the Western Conference Finals heads back to Minneapolis on Saturday night, and the T-Wolves try to get on the board and make this an interesting series. Not been the case so far. Live numbers, Thunder minus 17.5. Will, really at no point in this game have I been tempted to jump in and take the points on the T-Wolves. I know you have not either.
No.
How are you going to look at the Pacers-Knicks game tomorrow night? Because we're going to talk about possible best bets here for Friday. You and I have a lot pending here on the Knicks. I've got over 5.5 games in the series. We both have Knicks in 7 at 4-1 odds plus 400. And I've got the Knicks in the series at minus 150. We just need the Knicks to win. We need a long series, so we have an investment on that New York side on Friday night.
Yeah, and if you were looking to get in on something and you didn't have any action, would you object to a Knicks-Yankees moneyline parlay, Yankees and Coors, against the hapless Rockies? Knicks, all they have to do is win the game. Probably pays around even money. Is that a fair way to go about it? I know some people don't like to do the moneyline parlays, but is that something you'd consider?
If I didn't have anything riding on the Knicks, yeah, I might think about that. A New York parlay, yeah. Knicks-Yankees. Well, let's take a look at the Friday baseball card. And I want to start with the Yankees and Rockies in Colorado. It's going to be a 3-game series. Will, this is one the Yankees need to sweep. The Phillies just went to Denver and swept the Rockies. The Yankees need to do the same. Clark Schmidt against Tanner Gordon. I'm going to look for the opener here for tomorrow night, but what are your thoughts with Clark Schmidt going and the Yankees off a 1-run outburst today? Obviously, you expect a lot more offense from the Yankees at Coors Field.
Looking at a team total of 6.5, I would look towards the over. You're going to get your 9 at-bats. You're in Coors against an awful pitching staff. And bad news for the Rockies. They're about to get worse because Chase Dollander, their promising young prospect, who's actually pitched really well lately, he's on the IL. So the Rockies are going to go from whatever they are now to worse. He will not pitch in the series. He's not going to be pitching for a while. So you got to come up with unique ways to fade the Rockies, whether that's, just putting him into money line, putting him into money line parlay, a team total over. I would look towards a team total over. I think the Yankees will score, 7, 8 plus runs in this game. So Yankees team total over in Coors would be the way I would go. And my goodness, 8-42 for Colorado. The Yankees coming to town, a tough schedule still to come. I mean, we're talking about possibly a 34-35 win team. It really are.
We'll see if the Yankees can sweep the series. Clark Schmidt, a $3 favorite at Coors on Friday night. Minus 300 here, 310 at DraftKings. Total 12 or 12.5 out there for that Yankees-Rockies series opener on Friday night. Sounds like Will Hill might have a best bet or two on the Yankees on Friday night. Introducing the $500 trifecta from G-Bank, First Bet, and VSiN. Take a look at this. All you need to do is open a G-Bank Visa Signature credit card. In the first 90 days, deposit and play through $1,000 at First Bet to trigger the $500 trifecta. You receive $200 in cashback rewards on your G-Bank Visa Signature credit card. First Bet will give you a $100 deposit match. VSiN completes the trifecta with a free VSiN Pro subscription through August 31st. That's a $200 value. That's the $500 trifecta from G-Bank, First Bet, and VSiN. Go to vsin.com/GBank, vsin.com/GBank. This is a one-time promotion. It's limited to customers opening a new account in response to this offer and will not apply to requests to convert existing accounts. Apply today. Terms and conditions apply. It's not on that promo read there, Will, but if you sign up on a VSiN Pro subscription now, you also get a Greg Hoops Peterson bobblehead. Have you seen these? These are unbelievable.
I thought I was beloved at this company. I thought I was respected. I still don't have one, so that's obviously not the case. Where can I get one? I don't care what it costs.
Yeah, we've only got a few. We got a Mitch Moss and a Paul Howard bobblehead. We've got a Wes Reynolds bobblehead. Now we have a new Greg Hoops Peterson bobblehead that you can find in the VSiN store. If you come to Circa, go up to the second level, walk around by the hat shop, and that's where you find the VSiN store, and that's where you can buy the bobbleheads. Have you been up to the VSiN store when you've been here?
I don't think I have. Next time I do, that will be on the to-do list. I could use some more VSiN swag, as we all could.
Check it out. Bill 80 is working the cash register up there right now. The store is open until midnight if you want to stop by and get that Greg Peterson bobblehead. All right, so more of the Friday baseball card. How about I threw this game out at Jensen Lewis, Mr. Baseball, in the first hour of the show tonight. Dodgers and Mets at Citi Field. Clayton Kershaw against Griffin Canning. Interesting pitching matchup here, Will. How about Clayton Kershaw on his first start back for the Dodgers? Not very sharp. He got knocked around in the first inning. I watched his interview afterwards, and he said, hey, there's a lot of things I need to clean up. I was a little bit rusty going out there. How much better might he look in his second start, if at all? He went 4 innings, gave up 5 runs, and really got knocked around the first time. How do you handicap Dodgers and Mets, Kershaw, Canning?
Yeah, and it's interesting because I felt like Clayton Kershaw's been washed for 3 or 4 years, but you look up at the numbers, he puts up decent numbers. He's always hurt. But when he pitches, he's actually pitched okay, but that was not encouraging. It was last Saturday night against the Angels. It was basically batting practice. The Mets have not swung the bats well, but some of that, it's Fenway. It was colder weather this week. The Yankees shut them down pretty well. The Mets have a good lineup, top to bottom, a lot of power. I don't know how sustainable this start is for Griffin Canning, who's been outstanding. I'd actually look towards an over. I think you could see with the Dodger lineup, the Met lineup, 2 pitchers I'm not sure are going to be great here in this scenario. I would look towards an over. Was it 8.5? Especially 8.5. As long as both teams get to 4, obviously it can't tie 4-4. You go over that way. So I would look towards over 8.5 here.
Dodgers slight favorites. Kershaw -115. There are some spots, including Circa, showing a total of 9 on that game, even though DraftKings has 8.5. So if you do like that over, get that DraftKings number 8.5 over. It's shaded -115. I see out there, -118 at DraftKings. How about the San Diego-Atlanta game? Padres had a rough trip north of the border to Toronto. Nick Pivetta, who's been pretty strong for the Padres so far, opposing Chris Sale in this game in Atlanta. Braves -140, total of 7.5 or 8. Any thoughts?
Tough loss for the Braves on Thursday night, back and forth game. They lose in extras to the Nats as they rally back. These teams met in the playoffs last year, and they met very early in the season. They're meeting again here. I would only look towards the Braves here. I don't want to fade Pivetta. I'm probably not going to bet this game. I know you've made the point that Fridays can be tricky for baseball betting for whatever reason. So I'm not looking to bet this game. It would be Braves or nothing for me, but probably a pass.
Have you had a chance to break down much of the Friday card yet?
Some of it. I am going to play probably Skeens in the first 5 here.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask you about that game next. So Skeens at home against the Brewers and Freddie Peralta. And Skeens in his previous outing, I talked about this with Jensen Lewis, 8 innings, 3 hits, 1 walk, struck out 9, and lost 1-0.
If you're going to play these really good pitchers on these crappy teams, you almost have to play the first 5 money line, because you know what? If it's 1-1 after 5 innings, you really don't want the Pirates if it goes to the bullpen and it becomes a bullpen game. You want to play on Skeens. So to me, Pirates first 5 money line, I don't know if you've seen this. Maybe we could talk about it tomorrow. I don't think they're real rumors, but just these thought exercises. If you're the Pirates and you're as bad as they are, would you consider a Godfather package from someone like the Red Sox for like basically their whole farm system, or some of these other teams, just because you're not winning with Skeens anyway? It's an interesting thought exercise. I don't know, again, if there's anything to it, but I do like the Pirates on the first 5 on the money line.
Well, what I would do if I owned the Pirates, pour some money into the franchise, into the payroll, and actually try to build a winning team in Pittsburgh and keep Paul Skeens. If the owner is going to be cheap and he has no interest in doing that, then, yeah, of course you got to entertain a Godfather offer trade for a player like that. But it's got to be frustrating to be a Pirates fan and watch all the talent that goes through there. And it's just perpetual rebuilding. And a team that's rarely a winner, and it gets, turns into a situation of fatigue for the fans, where it's a cycle of losing and rebuilding that seems like it never ends. So Joe Cirallo is so crushed over the Knicks blowing the lead and losing game 1 against the Pacers. He didn't show up for work tonight. He's not hosting Cashing Out. It's going to be Greg Hoops Peterson. Look who just rolled into the studio tonight. So stay tuned after prime time. It's going to be Cashing Out with Hoops Peterson, 11 p.m. Eastern tonight. Greg's going to have a guest on to talk about NBA props. Wake up in the morning with our guys, Super Dave Ross and Jensen Lewis on VSiN by the Books, followed by a numbers game with Gil Alexander at 10 a.m. Eastern. Thanks to Jensen Lewis, JVT, and Ian Cameron on tonight's show. Will, I'll see you back here on Friday night.
Sounds good. See you tomorrow. Great show. Always fun.
Thunder rolling up 2-0 in the series. Greg Hoops Peterson in next here on the Sports Betting Network.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.